Hey folks, Schneider here. I've always believed that answers are a dime a dozen. I believe that answers are things that people, and myself included, just kind of make up. They're off the cuff. They're many times thinly disguised arguments. Questions, however, are tough. Great questions are what change the world. And a great question is one of those things that make you go, You see what I just did there? I went, I changed my perspective. I'm seeing in front of a car here, I'm seeing a water spigot over here. But my perspective changed because of the question. So, it's questions that change the world. Right now, I think there is a question that is the single most important question for our age. Not just in the United States, but everywhere, globally. Because a lot of people look to the United States for leadership. A lot of people look to the United States for example. A lot of people follow the example of the United States. So we are in an enviable and precarious position globally. All right, here's your uncomfortable question. This was asked to me and caused me to do countless hours of research. Now, I beg you, when you hear this question, don't just say, oh, blah, blah, blah. You know, your answer by rote. Remember, answers are a dime a dozen. Research this question. Find out if it has any basis in truth. Find out for yourself. And here's a little trick I use. When I am asked a tough question about a part of our history, I will try to find magazines or periodicals or articles that were written shortly after that period of time, or at least within 50 years of that period of time. Because as we all know, history has a tendency to be changed now, I think, daily, more so than ever before. Think about what people say about what the world was like when you were a child and see if you agree. You know, what was it really like in the 60s? What was it like in the 70s? Anyway, that's a bit of a squirrel. So I want you to research this uncomfortable question. And of course, now you've figured out, because of what's going on today, I'm talking about the period in our history called the American Civil War. So here's your question. If the American Civil War was a war that hinged upon and centered upon solely the question of slavery, if that was the catalyst that sparked these states united to come unglued along a imaginary line, the Mason-Dixon line, then why would any free black man, say that again, free black man, or woman for that matter, enlist willingly, heroically, and nobly to the South? Now, some of you are saying that's just not true. It's not true. Absolutely not true. Never happened. Okay, well, that was the question that was asked to me. I looked it up. I have read now hundreds of articles, and I urge you to do the same thing. Because it's important that you come up with your answer to the tough questions. It's important that you assimilate information from as many different places as you can, and not from people's opinions on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or Snapchat or not the instant information. Read history. There are many things that were written before 1900, shortly after 1900, on the subject, as you can imagine, of Andersonville, of the Civil War, of all kinds of things, and those are wonderfully informative. They're a little difficult to read because I feel that people were much better read, and therefore people wrote a little more gloriously back then. So you might have to do what I do. I have a dictionary on my phone or on my Kindle. If I come up against a word, I don't know what it is, I tap it. And I find myself doing that in magazines and in real books too. I'm like tapping for a definition. But look up a word, mark it, learn a new word. Anyway, answer that question for yourself. Put the different perspectives you get when you ask that question into your own little recipe card file. I did that. I put it into my own little recipe card file, and I came up with my opinion. Not a community opinion, not someone else's opinion, but my opinion. And you are entitled to your opinion. You are absolutely entitled. We all are. We still live in the greatest country that has ever existed. I'm going to say that again. We live in the greatest country that has ever existed. And we are free to make up our own minds. However, I do believe that along with that freedom, we have a responsibility to not only think of uncomfortable or difficult questions, but to answer them for ourselves, and to not enforce our opinions upon other people. I don't believe we have that right. So, there's your question. Is it true that free black men, however many, enlisted willfully, gloriously, nobly into the Confederacy? Did free black men die for the cause of the Confederacy? There's your question. I look forward to finding out what you find out. I want to know what you find out. Please, when you read, put links so we can all read what you read. And please, 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 don't spew any hatred here. That's not what this is about. This is not about hatred. This is about uniting in education under a good, albeit perhaps uncomfortable, question. I'm John Schneider. Welcome to the conversation. I'll see you down the road.